Hi Gemini, this is your March 2019 reading. Gemini, March is the month where we are looking at redefining ourselves. We are looking at redefining our career path. We are looking to reorient ourselves as a part of our planet going retrograde in our career house. We are looking to sort of review how far we have come in terms of our career path and where truly would we want to go. Because there is an ending of sorts which is happening in an old way of being when Mercury goes retrograde in the last degree of the zodiac. It is sort of an ending of an old archetype, an old mold which we have created and which we have lived by so far, and we go back and revise that and plant a new seed of inspiration as a part of the new moon that is happening this month, whose full impact will only be evident in my view after middle of the month, because you're looking at a cycle where first we need to review how far we have come, what worked for us, what did not work for us, and certain unconscious beliefs that we have in terms of ourselves coming out into the open, and us recognizing some of these trends, some of these patterns that we were not seeing before, looking at that, analyzing that, and then taking a different direction for ourselves, which is more authentic to ourselves, which is true to ourselves, and which is in line with our highest inspirations. We are being asked to go beyond our current limitations. But because our planet is retrograde right now, the active steps are not taken right now. We do not go and actually leave something and join something. There is no official new start, but the groundwork for a new start in our career are laid in the second half of the month, and we will receive the epiphanies, the opportunities to do that. The new moon that is happening on 6th of March is a very, very inspirational new moon. It is a new moon without boundaries, where we are being asked to dream big. We are being asked to go beyond our current limitations and think of a life that we always wanted could exist. Think about that and bring whatever structure we could to that as the groundwork to start into this new path, this new way of being. What is happening apart from that is Uranus is moving into Taurus, so that is where the unconventional meets the convention. We are looking to break a pattern. This is sort of a glass ceiling which is getting broken, and we are going beyond our previous patterns. We are putting an old pattern, an old cycle to closure to move into a more authentic existence. We are looking to set free certain fears, certain unconscious beliefs that are holding us back, and it is not going to be a small exercise that will continue for some time. But when Uranus enters our 12th house on the very day of a new moon in our career, that pattern is embedded into the new start that we are having. And this freedom from fear, the freedom from convention, the freedom from fixity in our life into something that is more authentic, more exciting, more original to us, that is embedded as part of this new start. The month ends on a beautiful full moon in your house of joy. We are putting something to closure, something that started about 6 months back, which you were nurturing like a baby. A sort of a first phase of that comes to closure. Some first signs of success are seen in something that you have invested in with a lot of joy, with a lot of passion, with a lot of aspirations. This is the house where we create our legacy. So some initial signs of success of you being able to create something out of your talents, out of your creativity, out of you taking a risk on your own talents by either starting a business or going into a situation where you've taken certain amount of calculated risk in your life in terms of your career, or even a risk that you might have taken in your personal life in terms of romance. Something comes to fruition, the first delivery of a positive sign that you are going in the right direction. As I said, this is the month where we're getting the epiphanies, the discovery period. This is the month of discovery, where we are realizing through the events whether the direction we are going in is right or not, and how do we change or tweak our direction. Because this is the month of mutable water, and you are a mutable sign yourself. So you are most benefited as a course of this month, because your core strength is that you are able to adjust and change course when you know something is working, and you're able to change course when you know something is not working. So moving away from what is not working towards something that is working is your core strength that comes into play, and that is your sort of basis of success, in my view, during the course of this month, which you should leverage on. As we progress through this month, you'll see epiphanies come through, you'll see impulses come through as well. My request to you is that your planet is retrograde. Calculated risks can be taken to some extent, but a big impulsive move should not be made during the course of your planet being retrograde, because there is more information that needs to come through, whether it is in your personal life or in your professional life. I will request you to manage your emotional response to impulses, because that is what Mercury retrograde in water sign is about. It's about representing and honing and maturing our emotional responses to impulsive situations that will come in front of you. So being a little bit careful in how you respond to those impulses will be very important during the course of the month. This is a very important month for you. I believe that you will go to the next step. The thing is that the new moon that is happening at the start of this month is happening around the degrees where the eclipse will happen in your sign next year as well. So we are looking at a preview to what's about to come when North Node or Rahu will move into your sign in 2020, and we start moving towards your real path, your life path, your path that we were sort of incarnated to walk on. If you believe in that, our path towards our destiny becomes very clear as we progress forward towards 2020. And this, in my view, this month, in my view, is pivotal in terms of moving you towards that direction. Let's dig into the details of things. I'm really sorry that the March videos are delayed, but I had no choice this month to do it earlier. So I apologize again for that. I'll leave timestamps in the comments. If you have not looked at the Mercury retrograde video, I will request you to look at that, because I like to talk about other things during the course of detailed version of this video. So let's dig into the details of things. As we start the month, the first key event is of course the new moon that is happening on 6th of March, which will continue to have an impact on us till 19th of March at the very least. This is happening in your house of career. This is happening at 16 degrees. So if you have any planets around 16 degree of Gemini, or if you're born around 5th, 6th or 7th of June, you'll see a very different next year in terms of your career. You're looking at a long-term change in your career, especially if you have planets around 16 degree of Gemini, or if you are born around 6th, 7th or 8th, 5th, 6th, 7th of June, around those dates. This is a fresh energy that is being infused into your career house. We're looking at planting the seeds of a new persona that you want to sort of be known as. This is the face that we show to the world in terms of our career, in terms of our public reputation, in terms of what we are respected and known and honored for. We're looking at contributing something actively to the society, and this is where we plant the first seeds of what we want it to be going forward. This means that even if you might be in an existing career, you're looking at fresh infusion of inspiration, fresh infusion of a new energy, a significant change that sort of inspires you, makes you get up in the morning and put your heart and soul into what you're doing more and more. And there is a shift required in order to do that. That's why your planet Mercury goes retrograde just a day before that. It is actually stationary on 29 or 30 degree of Pisces on the day that we have the new moon. That means that there is a old mold, an old way of thinking, an old fixity in terms of who we thought we are, that has to be given away. When a planet that rules at it stands at the last degree of the zodiac and turns and takes a U-turn, it is telling us that there is something that is not working in the existing formation. 30 degree of Pisces is known in symbolic astrology. It is represented as a majestic relic. It is a majestic relic formation, so it is not a bad form. What we have right now is not a bad form, but it resembles a face with which a boy who's holding it starts identifying himself. This is an archetype which we thought we have been brought up with. This is the permanency that we have been brought up with. This is our psychological thought process, our hidden, deep seated belief in terms of who we thought we can be and we are. So there is a limitation that we have placed on ourselves by limiting ourselves to a fixed prototype that we thought we should become, we can become, and we will become. And we did become that. That boy became that majestic relic that he was holding in his hand. He became that archetype. But then at this moment, when we take a U-turn, we realize that that archetype is not serving us anymore. It has become a relic. It has become an old stone that we are holding in our hand, still holding it tight, while it does not work for the new person that we have become. Because Uranus for the last 7 years has been in your house of vision. And over the course of the 7 years, our vision about where we want to go, who we want to become, what are our long-term goals, what is the legacy we want to leave in the world, that has shifted over the course of last couple of years, especially in the last 3 or 4 months with the eclipse that happened in January, which involved Uranus at the last degree of Aries, as well as the last month. We have seen that we have changed as a person. Our vision about our life has changed. So on the day of the new moon, on 6th of March, Uranus moves away from that 11th house and it leaves a thought process, a deep-seated release into our thought process that we want to become somebody else, not this archetype anymore, not this fixity anymore. We want to become somebody else. And our planet takes a U-turn. Uranus moves into our house of subconscious and we get a moment of recognition. We get a moment of realization, and this will continue till, at least in my view, till 9th of March. There is download, there is information that is coming through with Neptune lowering your boundaries, making you more open to the ideas that can come through, especially in your career sphere to you, which is dissolving an old fixity, dissolving an old prototype of what you thought would be your career path. And as it dissolves that, it inspires you to dream beyond boundaries to something else in terms of who you could become. But at this stage, as I said, this is not the time to make an impulsive decision. This is the time of discovery. We're discovering our desires. We're discovering our ambition. We're discovering who we can or who we want to become if we did not place any limitations on ourselves. So discover yourself during this time. I would request, this is a very, very active imagination period. This is the period when our highest inspiration is brought into action. I would request you to go within yourself. Give yourself the time, give yourself the attention, because this is a very critical turning point for you. 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th of March, give yourself the time, and this is the time when you might feel even depleted if you come in contact with certain people, and that is your signal to get away from them as well, because your boundaries are lower at this point in time. Neptune sort of brings the veil between the conscious and the subconscious down, so we can get certain information that we would normally not get. But in order to receive that, we need to do, which is blasphemy in today's world, which is stand still for a moment and figure out whether we are happy where we are going, in terms of where we are going. We want to stand still even for 15 to 20 minutes, standing close to water, standing somewhere where we can listen to our inner world a little bit, listen to our own inspiration a little bit. And are we able to take that time for ourselves just for 2 or 3 days? 20-30 minutes a day to listen to, are we going in the right direction? And you would be shown a way, in my view, of how we are in some ways self-sabotaging our own progress. In some ways, how we are not honoring our own creativity, how we are not honoring our own talents to some extent. And there'll be recognition. This is a very sensitive new moon, and you will, to to some extent you will feel sensitive at this point in time. It's happening at 16 degree of Pisces. It's a very sensitive point in creativity. It is the point, it is a degree which is found in moon of every sensitive poet that we know of. Many poets and creatives have this degree in their chart prominent because it invokes the highest form of inspiration. It is the degree of tuning in. It is the degree of creative juices being flowing, and you have to make space for the new ideas by dissolving the old. When that happens, you have to nurture these new ideas, no matter how fanatical, how out of the ballpark, how out of your reach to some extent. And they will be out of your reach, because nothing happens if you don't dream more than where you are right now. You are being asked to dream beyond you are right now. And don't worry about reality check. Reality check is going to come around 9th of March itself. So you'll be able to put this into something which is more tangible as we move forward, but maybe right now is not the time for it. Sometimes we have to let the water flow for a minute before we bind it to realize how much water do we have. You're trying to figure out what's the depth of your ideas, what is the depth of your ambitions, what is the depth of who you want to become. And as you recognize that, then you can tie it in a boundary, then you can tie it into structures after 9th of March for yourselves. The change that is happening of Uranus moving into your 12th house on 6th of March, it has a long-term implication. It's a very long-term transit. Uranus is a very slow acting planet. It is not a slow acting, planet. It's a slow moving planet. When Uranus hits, it hits with lightning bolt, but it takes a long time to get to the point where it acts. But when Uranus changes signs, that month, that moment, that new start where it is seated, we feel the lightning bolt of innovation. We feel the lightning bolt of change. We feel the voila moment come through where it stops. And that is where it is stopping, and it is sort of giving you an epiphany. It is unlocking some sort of fear, some latent talent that is lying below the surface. 90% of what we have and what results in all our actions above the surface is happening below the surface. So Uranus goes below the surface, and it's going to shake a little bit of your fears, your talents through, your desires, your hidden passions through, so it can wake them up. It will open the gates to your soul. It will make it freer. It will set some amount of your creativity free, because you sort of have to get interested in something different for your path to change, right? We need a new passion. We need a new desire. We need a new goal to some extent, a new creative high to some extent for us to go there. So it depends on how open your self-expression in general is, but Uranus in your 12th house, it completely makes you unafraid to be who you are in terms of your uniqueness. It opens up a whole new world which was not visible to the outer world. So it opens a new part of you that was not visible to the outer world. And this is not the only transit which is going to transform you, because you have Pluto, Saturn, South Node sitting in your 8th house as well. 8th house and 12th house, these are psychological houses. And Gemini, I'm sorry to get so philosophical in this video, but these two houses, they do not have anything in common with you. These are the two houses which are normally stored away from you. You are a very go-go, talking, interacting, socializing, getting things done kind of a sign. You're an air sign. You believe in information, receiving, decimating, doing, and progressing forward. You're a mutable air sign. But these are the houses which are of water sign. 8th and 12th houses. These are the houses of going a little bit beyond the information that is available to us in tangible form, going beyond that and seeing things which we did not see before. They're releasing certain fears, they're releasing certain addictive habits within us. They're sort of detoxing both your body as well as your psychological mind to to some extent, so you can start a completely new cycle. And you'll feel that, in my view, March very clearly, and I would think that you would already be feeling it sort of wakes us up from the sleep. Uranus in the 12th house. 12th house is the house of sleep. When Uranus goes there, which is a lightning bolt, it wakes us up. It is sort of something which was sleeping inside us in terms of our desires, in terms of our passion, in terms of our hidden talents. They are woken up so they can be activated and they can become an active part of who you're becoming. The unconscious needs are set free to be expressed very, very actively, and we are introduced to our own patterns. We are to some extent, and this is sort of, I don't mean to say it disrespectfully, but it is a Pandora's box. So it will open up both sides of us. There will be certain unhealthy patterns about ourselves that will be exposed to us as well, which we need to deal with in order to move forward. And that's why I said that the first 2 weeks of the month, they are more about figuring out what's coming out of this. So unfortunately, Uranus and Taurus it's sort of a lightning bolt meets the surface of the earth. So unfortunately, it is prone to cause natural disasters to some extent, and we are seeing that in the world already, because Uranus and Taurus started acting about a week when it is about to enter. It starts acting at the time. Similarly, thinking of it at a psychological basis, because for us it acts in a psychological way, it sort of brings a churn in our thought process, in our psyche, in our unconscious mind. And the churn is because it wants us to rediscover. It is sort of a defragmentation of our soul, so we can become somebody else. So we can become somebody who is more authentic to their path. So you might feel a unique way to connect with the collective here, and it might not be something that you've thought of before. How can my talents serve a larger set of people? There are some closeted leaders and inspirational talkers or spiritual talkers who come out into the open when that happens. There's a first step. This is the first step that is happening in self-exploration. We all have an undisclosed fear of losing control that comes into action when that happens. So when things shake up, like unfortunately when, say, earthquake happens, we do not have control over where we are going. The gravity that we know is lost for a moment, and we lose control and we topple. So that feeling of just about to fall, of losing control, is given to us for a moment. And I'm making you aware of that moment to understand that your mutability is important, to catch yourself in that moment and think of what epiphany that moment is giving you, because you're dissolving your old ego here. Uranus is freeing you from your own identity, fixity of identity, your own ego over here, where we are letting go of control for a moment for the water to take us where we need to go. This is the hidden side of Gemini, a deep side of Gemini, which is not very visible to the other people, but it exists inside your psyche, which might get exposed to a larger set of people. There's an actualization of your whole being, a liberation from what is known, which is happening, a freedom from the fear of unknown, which is happening, to meet life more authentically. And you will see that pan out in terms of vivid dreams, in terms of insights that you're getting. You might feel a little bit restless as well as a result of that. It's like you cannot sleep when you have a planet of lightning sitting in your house of sleep. So a little bit of it sort of overstimulates us to some extent, and I want you to be a little bit careful about that, because it's a wiry energy. It's like we cannot relax when that happens. And both Neptune being in your 10th house, which is squaring you, Neptune is also has a way of dissolving the old, right? But Uranus is sort of a shock. Neptune is a slow. There's nothing to be afraid of either of the two, because they're both bringing you closer to your inspiration and the freedom that you seek in your career. But because of both of these planets being so activated together, there is a possibility that we need to take care of our immune system at this point in time, and our sleep, and our overall, that the energy is too wiry and there's too much wired up energy happening. So avoid caffeine if you can. at this point in time. If there are any vitamins that you take to keep your immunity intact, take those. Take a lot of fluids during this new moon, from 6th to 9th especially. Take a lot of fluids, but this is for the whole month in my view, because Uranus will be very activated when it is at 0 degree of a planet. It's just taking color of it. It is restless to act. It shows us that it is coming into a different sign. So be very, very, the self-care is very important right now, in terms of your immune system, in terms of your nervous system, in terms of vitamin C, taking enough fluids, and not trying, maybe trying something non-traditional in terms of healing methods. And Uranus in 12th supports that. For example, acupuncture, or taking some kind of allopathy, some kind of non-traditional medicines, for example homeopathic. If you are aware of a good practitioner, licensed practitioner who does these things, it might be of benefit to you as well. There are 3 more points that I'd like to make before we move on to the rest of the month, which is coming through from these 3 things happening together, which is Neptune influence, Mercury retrograde, and Uranus moving into Taurus. The first thing is that Neptune brings a very different kind of desire element into play. It's different from Venus because it's the highest aspiration, the highest inspiration. It is a higher form of Venus. So there is a very different love for what you want to do that comes into play. You're looking to move into a career which gives you tremendous amount of fulfillment. This is not that I'm frustrated from the current moment and current job and I move into another new job, which is another mundane job. You are looking for something that is soul fulfilling. You're looking at something where you're doing something beyond what you have done before. Work becomes essentially a highest form of satisfaction of soul when Neptune is there. You're looking to some extent, and this may not be healthy, but it is something that happens when Neptune is in our career, where inspiration to contribute something to the society becomes so meaningful that everything else seems meaningless at that point in time. Because we essentially expect the career or the vocation that we are taking to fulfill all our needs, whether it is physical, it is mental, it's emotional or spiritual. This is a little bit of extreme manifestation that I'm talking about, but it is not uncommon to see a person who has Neptune transit as at its peak, which will be the case if you have any planets around 16 degree of Gemini, or if you're born around 6th or 7th of June, you'll feel Neptune very, very strongly. It makes you forget everything else but focus on this object of your desire, which is success in your career. And at that time, everybody else and everything else sort of disappears. So I'm sort of telling you the downside of it. It's your choice whether you want it to be like that right now. But this is the reason why sometimes everything else feels like it does not excite us enough. But on the highest form of expression, we make our own definition of success in this phase. So Neptune in its positive manifestation, in its highest form of manifestation, makes us discover that there is a different way of being successful in your career as compared to the worldly definition, and we create our own structure of success versus the world structure. And that is the positive and the highest form of manifestation of Neptune. It is a different way of getting excited. It is a different desire element as compared to Venus, which is focused on acquiring things. Neptune is focused on acquiring spirituality. It is focused on soul fulfillment. It is focused on our contribution to the world, essentially. So I'm sorry if it is too psychological, but that is what Neptune does. It is a different kind of contribution that we are woken up to. Then the second point was that the Mercury retrograde, which is happening in your house of career, in your 10th house, it evokes another part of our life, which is related to one of our parents. So the thoughts of a parent come back for resolution when that happens. It creates sort of the archetype that we had. It could have been created by one of our parents in our life, and this parent could have been a parent who could have posed as a victim to some extent. I'm sorry to say that, but that is the energy that comes through. that if the parent might have posed as a victim or as a martyr in their life, that part of them, that way of being gets embedded in our DNA to some extent, in our mindset to some extent. And Mercury goes retrograde for us to review if we want to live that anymore in our life or not, because you're sort of having a rebirth of mind at this point in time. And this is not a very common thing that happens, because Mercury at 29 degree or 30 degree of Pisces at the end of the zodiac degree, I could not look at the history to figure out when that last happened. Even though we have had Mercury go retrograde in 2013 and in 2006 in Pisces, but those were never the time when that degree was touched. So when it is stationing at a very critical degree, there is a very deep embedded archetype that gets dissolved. And in the case of 10th house where it is stationing, this is an archetype that is embedded in our DNA by a parent as well. So maybe a way of being that our father thought we should be, or a way of being that our mother, who was an authority figure in life, who thought we should be. And now you're looking to come out of that mold and direct your creative high in a different fashion in your work. You want to serve your work. You want to sort of want to create your contribution which is different from what your family and your upbringing might have told you should be your contribution to the world. So this is the second point. And the third point I wanted to make, which I missed out earlier, was that when Uranus moves into our 12th house, apart from just these latent talents which are released, there are certain political movement and ideologies which come out as well. This you might suddenly come, because we start suddenly, this is like a manthan as we call it in Hindu culture. It is sort of the right from the wrong. We sort of start culling between the right and the wrong, and the political views and ideologies, we get very interested in culling out what is right, what is wrong, and we start taking extreme sides to some extent during this time. So being a little bit careful if we are wasting our energy and our vibration and this energy which can be used in a very positive way somewhere else, to sort of getting into a political and ideological debate. This is something to look out for. I don't mean politics is waste. Maybe it is, in my view it is, but maybe it is not to you. But sometimes we tend to waste our time and intention into political or events that affect the collective in a wrong way. We do want to get engaged with the collective in terms of serving the collective, but getting involved in the extreme ideologies of the collective is what we want to stay away from. So this was what is happening in my view longer run. This is not just March. I feel Uranus and Taurus of course is for the next 7 years, but Mercury retrograde will be embedded into your new start. This new thought process that is coming to you will be embedded in your in your new start in your career, I believe, in a longer period of time. So let's dig into what's happening in the rest of the month. So then begins what I call as phase 2 of this month. From 9th to 13th of this month, you will see some amount of stability return as Saturn comes into play, and Saturn starts asking you to sort of give up the fear of losing control and start moving in a direction that is a little bit different. That is also the point where we are asked to leave something behind, put something to bed which is old. As I've been talking about before, this is a detox of your old life that is happening, and this detox starts becoming more prominent from 14th of March. I believe on 14th of March you will have some sort of epiphany, some sort of a turning point that comes. There's a clarity of purpose that emerges in my view. There is an important piece of puzzle which we were missing. Maybe it could be in form of information that is sort of revealed to you, that comes through to you, which works in unison with the North Node this year. North Node or Rahu this year is focused on creating more value for you, creating more wealth for you. So there is an epiphany which comes through in terms of your career, which unlocks the way to make more value for yourself in your career. This could be an actual opportunity to sort of make more money, or it could be a job direction that you should be choosing, which will sort of result in more value for you, or at the very least it will sort of help you in terms of self confidence going forward and make better use of your talents. But there is a epiphany, some sort of chance meeting or a karmic meeting or a karmic encounter or discussion, in my view, which happens with somebody in terms of your career, which brings out this missing piece that you did not know existed. And that helps us move to the second phase of Mercury retrograde, which is moving forward, researching forward in terms of how do we want the new phase of our career to look like. And that begins in the second half. Now, as I said in the introduction, we are not looking to close on and sign off any documents this month. It is not the right time to do it, but it is the time to start researching forward in terms of a job that you might might want to join, or a new sort of way of increasing your net worth that you want to go into, or start laying the research work required, because Mars is currently in your hidden house, working behind the scene in terms of start creating the groundwork for your new career. That begins after 14th or 15th of March, in my view. Another energy that gets activated on 14th or 15th of March, which is a April trend, which is on 5th of April, we'll have Pluto and South Node come together in your house of reincarnation. You're looking at having a complete rebirth, and there is a detoxification of soul, I feel, which happens around which starts around the middle of this month. There is a sort of a letting go. You suddenly feel this in your core, that there's a new power that you find within yourself to leave some sticky part of yourself that you were not letting go earlier. There's something that has outlived its purpose, and we sometimes just hang on to it. But now you discover this power, I feel, especially in the middle of the month, around 13th or 14th of March, to just cut that away. The strength in ambition is so strong at this point in time, as Pluto empowers your house of career at this time, especially on 13th and 15th of March. You feel it in your voice, you'll feel it in your body, you'll feel it in the ambition that is sort of bubbling on top of your mind at that point in time. You feel very confident. You even feel over optimistic at this point in time, and I don't blame you. I think there's a lot to look forward to, but as I said, do not make a commitment at this stage. Do not overextend at this point in time. Think of this as the time where you're getting the creative high, where you're getting a higher view of how you could become more in terms of your career, and there will be opportunities which will come. There'll be hidden drive that is exposed, and it is brought into existence with Pluto and South Node working together. It is like a veil that is lifted from your drive, and you discover a way to channel your drive in the right way to create more value for you in this life. And you find a way to sort of let go of something which is addictive in nature. It could be a relationship, it could be a habit, it could be some way in which we self-sabotage our progress. You find the power to leave that behind to move forward. There's a channeling of your drive which happens in an appropriate manner. Every person, people of exceptional power and drive, have Pluto in their 8th house. Whether it is Churchill or Leonardo da Vinci or Galileo, they all have Pluto in their 8th house, and you have been gifted with Pluto in the 8th house during the course of next couple of years, but especially this year with South Node. It works together to release something that is holding your power back, that is not letting you become as strong and as powerful you want in your career in terms of generating value out of your career. Then in the second half of the month, from 17th to 22nd, we have Mercury and Mars working together. You start laying down the groundwork. This is the time of actively working forward. You get ready. You get very, very activated at this point in time. It could be you starting to work through things in the background. Now, another thing that happens at this time, and as I said in the introduction, romance is quite rife this month with Jupiter in your house of relationships, in your house of partnerships. There might be an active connection that is made at this point in time. Now, this active connection with Venus in your 9th house could be with somebody who's of different background from you, completely different kind of a person. Venus in ninth house in Aquarius is like meeting somebody who's very, very unique, very different, and having an instant connection with them. And what happens is that just after about around 20th or even 19th of March, these two planets are working together and they're creating a very, very romantic aspect around 20th, 21st of March, which is beautiful in nature. And it is creating the best environment possible for you to find a great partner, for you to fall in love, for you to take care of something creative in nature as well. Jupiter is in your house of partnership and Venus in your house of adventure. They're working together beyond romance. This is a creative high that comes to you. Could even partner with somebody who's different from you in a creative field to some extent at this point in time. And that brings me to the opportunity which comes at the end of the month to bring something to conclusion which brings you joy. That happens with the full moon that is happening on 21st of March in Libra. On the day of vernal equinox, when Sun moves into Aries, into your house of networks, we, after about 2 or 3 hours of Sun moving into Aries, get this beautiful full moon at a critical degree of a cardinal sign, giving you the first gift, in my view, of recognition, of confidence. There's a boost that comes through your way which gives you, it's like a positive karma that comes our way of the work that we have put over the last 6 months, and it shows you the first sign of success, that you're going in the right direction and how can you proceed forward further. This is happening at 0 degree Libra, or about 1 degree Libra, which is the degree of chase of a beautiful dream coming to conclusion. It's a very, very idealistic, it's like end of a phase 1, it's a degree of perfect form, which is happening in your house of confidence, in your house of risk, in your house of positive karma. You're looking at something coming through as a result of you taking a risk on your creativity in the past. You've worked on something for the last 6 months, which is coming to a conclusion, because Libra full moon brings the last 6 months to conclusion, and for the last 6 months we have been having full moon at 0 or 1 degree since about October of last year. And there is like a phase which started in October of completing different phases of something that you started about 6 months back, and now that comes to fruition. This is a house of giving birth. You're finally giving birth to something. You see the first sign of success of something that you've seeded. This could be in your business. You might have started something in a creative venture or a business of your own, or it could be in the area of romance as well. Something coming through in terms of a deep romance at this point in time, and the ruler of this full moon is making a positive aspect with Jupiter, which makes this a very, very lucky full moon, which is happening on 20th of March, and it will continue to pan out for the next 2 weeks. Even the full moon that is happening in April is in the same house but on 29 degree of Libra. So there is something that continues to flow, in my view, for the next 1 month starting from 20th of March, which is giving you the sign that you're going in the right direction, and at the same time retain your mutability. Shift the direction when you're shown that there are things that you need to change in terms of your form, in terms of what you're doing, to get more value out of your talents at this point in time. One thing that I like to warn you about is that Sun and Chiron, they will meet together. They will be together around 22nd of this month. But during this full moon, which is happening in Libra on 20th of March, you'll start feeling a wound being exposed. And this wound is being exposed related to your ability to interact with larger set of audience. So there is a breakthrough in terms of society, presence in society, presence in a business, influential business group, or presence in terms of a friendship segment. So a network breakthrough which you're trying to have, there might be some wound in terms of getting to understand that you are unique, and hence You will relate to people around you in a unique way. That recognition comes through, I believe, as a result of Sun and Chiron coming together. But that recognition is a little bit painful, that we are standing apart from the society, that we're different from the society. But at the same time, the healing comes from within ourselves. The first step is, of course, to recognize that we are different, that we are merging into a society that considers us to be different. And while we merge into the society, slowly we heal our self-identity. And that is the teaching of Chiron for the next couple of years for us, healing our sense of self-identity while we stand different from a group that we are part of. We do not have to become exactly same as somebody else to be recognized for who we are. In fact, most of the people who have ever been recognized for who they are, they're different from the crowd. So standing different from the crowd is not a negative quality at all. But at this point in time, that wound gets exposed, the self-identity wound gets exposed, that you're different from the people who you're working with, you're different from the people who are part of your day-to-day network. These could be business network, it could be a friendship network, or a network that you're trying to break into. And the next couple of weeks are sort of focused on making a network for yourself, on making a presence in the society, making a friends network for yourself as Sun moves into Aries and we start actively working towards a new start in your presence in the society, in terms of your presence in the effective and influential business network to some extent. And that starts the next month. On 26th of March, we have Venus moving into Pisces, which helps tremendously in terms of your career. This is money showing its head in terms of your work. This is positive for money. This is positive for success. This is positive for charm as well in terms of you being able to handle the authority figures. But be careful this month with Mercury being retrograde in your 10th house. How you handle your authority figures will undergo shifts during the course of this month. It could be authority figure in your family, it could be authority figure at work, or it could be authority figure on the road. For example, the traffic police getting stuck and getting a ticket at this point in time. So being respectful with authority figures is important during the course of March when Mercury is retrograde in that area. But on 26th of March, you can, after 26th of March, with Venus moving into that area, you can charm anybody in terms of authority figures, getting approvals, getting things through, getting money from your existing career. And the idea is to do that come through as Uranus meets Venus as well on 27th of March. So at the end of the month, we start getting new ideas on how to generate value out of our career. And then after 28th of March, when Mercury goes direct on 16 degree Pisces, we can start implementing this new archetype. We should wait a day or two for Mercury to pick up the speed. But from April onwards, we can start implementing these new ideas. We have to be careful on one thing in April, which is that Jupiter will go retrograde. I know I hate retrograde word by now, but yeah, Jupiter will go retrograde in the second week of April. It is not something uncommon, it happens every year, but you have to realize that the opportunity to partner up with people will reduce after 10th of April. So in terms of your Venus energy, in terms of your love life, if there are opportunities that are coming through, I do not recommend to tie them up during Mercury retrograde, but start enjoying them, have fun with those, see if they can go any further, analyze them, look deeper within yourself if you really like them or not. Neptunian effect is there during the course of March, so I would suggest wait for the first week of April, but understand that the opportunities, the new opportunities of business partnership, of new clients, of new tie-ups with people will slow down after 10th of April or so. So if there are opportunities coming in the month of March, keep them, analyze them, and look at signing them in the first week of April probably. So that's where we end, and Mars is entering your sign on 31st of March. So April, you know, is going to be the month of acting on your dreams, on acting on these new epiphanies, new ideas that you're receiving. So I'm sorry this was a very long video, but we had a lot to talk about this month, and it has longer term implications for you. So I hope it helps, and I hope this is a great month for you. I'll see you in April. Thank you so much.